It was a cold February night in Brooklyn, and Anthony Russo had reached his breaking point. His small café, the once lively Bella Vita Bistro, was now just a silent, empty space. Laughter and clinking cups had been replaced by the hum of an old refrigerator and the weight of overdue bills. The pandemic had wiped out his savings, the rent was looming, and a daunting insurance renewal letter sat unopened on the counter like a family warning. Staring at the flickering light above his beloved espresso machine, he whispered to himself a mantra of desperation. It's just wood and walls. I built it once. I can start again. That night, a decision was made. Anthony brought a small red gas can into the cafe. The air, usually rich with the scent of coffee and pastries, was now heavy with something else: despair and the sharp temps of gasoline. He moved through the darkness like a ghost in his own life, his hands trembling as he spread the liquid near the kitchen door, along the polished bar counter, and by the entrance where he'd greeted so many familiar faces. His hands didn't tremble from fear, but from a profound, gut-wrenching shame. He paused, his gaze falling upon the wall of photos. His wife, his daughter, their bright smiles on the first day they opened the cafe. It felt like a lifetime ago. "Forgive me," he muttered, the words swallowed by the silence. Then he lit the match. The flame erupted instantly, a hungry, living thing. It danced up the curtains, crawled with terrifying speed along the old wooden beams, and then it roared, a beast finally uncaged, devouring everything in its path. Anthony scrambled out the back door, his heart hammering against his ribs, hot smoke chasing him into the cold alley. Within minutes, the entire block glowed with a sickening orange light. Sirens screamed, cutting through the quiet Brooklyn night. Neighbors poured onto the sidewalks, their faces a mixture of shock and horror, watching as Bella Vita burned to the ground. By morning, all that remained was a skeleton of blackened ash and charred memories. The next day, Anthony filed his insurance claim. His voice was steady, his story rehearsed down to the last detail. Faulty wiring, a tragic, unforeseen accident. The insurance adjuster nodded politely, his expression sympathetic, promising to process the claim as quickly as possible. For a fleeting, foolish moment, Anthony allowed himself to believe it. He thought he had gotten away with it. But the truth has a funny way of lingering, like the smell of smoke on your clothes. 2 weeks later, there was a sharp knock on his door. 2 detectives stood on his porch. "Mr. Russo," one of them said, his tone professional but firm, "mind if we take a look at something?" They didn't wait for an answer. Inside, they played footage from a small, unassuming security camera from a hardware store across the street. The video was grainy, the quality poor, but the story it told was crystal clear. It showed a man in a dark jacket, his figure unmistakable, entering the cafe late at night. The time stamp on the screen perfectly matched the time of the fire. And then, just as the first flicker of flames erupted in the cafe window, the man turned. For a fraction of a second, his face was illuminated by a passing streetlight. The camera captured his eyes, Anthony's eyes filled with a desperate, destructive resolve. Anthony sank into his chair. The air left his lungs, and a heavy silence filled the room. The detectives didn't need to say another word. The lie had crumbled. Above the television, a photo of his smiling daughter seemed to look down at him, her innocent gaze now feeling like an accusation. In court, when the judge asked him why, Anthony didn't offer excuses. He just spoke the raw, painful truth. "I thought I could burn the problem away," he confessed, his voice barely a whisper. "But the fire didn't just take my cafe, it took who I was. The insurance money, of course, never came. His cafe was gone, his reputation was in ruins, and he was sentenced to prison. He served his time quietly. When he was released, he didn't try to rebuild his old life. Instead, he started working in a local soup kitchen. He no longer chased profit, he just chased a little bit of peace." 1 year later, on the anniversary of the fire, Anthony found himself standing in front of the empty lot where Bella Vita once stood. It was snowing lightly. A single perfect snowflake landed on his outstretched hand and melted instantly. A faint, bittersweet smile touched his lips. He whispered to the empty space, and to himself, "You can't hide from the truth. It always finds its light." The story of Anthony Russo is a stark reminder that destructive shortcuts never lead to a better destination. The truth always leaves evidence, whether it's on a grainy security tape or etched into your own soul. No matter how fast you try to run, you can never truly escape the smoke from your own fires. Thank you for watching it. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more content that makes you think. We'll see you in the next one.